Hi everyone, so I just wanted to give you the story behind the painting that I've just released on my website. It is called The Tear of Christ and it depicts Jesus' face as he is carrying the cross. It's actually a copy from Giovanni Bellini's painting from the 1500s called Christ Carrying His Cross. Somehow, I flipped the image. Maybe I did that in my mind. I can't really remember. But more on the process in just a second. So this painting was done in 2021. And I don't know if many of you know this, but I was actually a religious sister for several years. And it was during that time that I painted this. I have very little free time, but I used to sneak down to the basement and do this and work on this image in 10-minute fragments. And I wanted to do it for my parents for my birthday. I was living 4,000 miles away from home, taking it pretty hard, and I knew that I wasn't able to contact my family for my birthday, but I still wanted them to feel close to me on the day. So it was a gift to my parents, to my family, as just a little act of appreciation and thanksgiving for the gift of bringing me into the world, for giving me a beautiful childhood, for passing on the faith to me, and generally just loving me. So it served as a great meditation really on the love of Jesus and his passion in that moment that he was carrying the cross. We know that the actual passion is probably a very bloody and graphic and violent affair. This image doesn't focus so much on the blood and the physical injuries, but its main focus really is the expression, his interior, his motivation. And really it just served for me as a meditation on his dispositions as he was bearing this tremendous suffering for us. There's a look in his eyes that just says to me, I know exactly what I'm doing and it hurts, but I'm doing this for you. That determination and strength, that interior strength, doesn't disqualify him or diminish his exterior sufferings. But there's just such a grit, such a knowing, such a intention, strength of will that is in his eyes. And yet there was a beautiful moment when I just kind of had to paint that tear. Don't know if it's on that side or that side. It's like, even though Jesus has so much strength and so much willingness and so much determination to rescue us, to redeem our souls, it still costs him, and he still shares our humanity, and he still knows what it's like to weep, to experience the things that we experience, to experience emotional pain and heartache and all of this. So I decided to name it The Tear of Christ just because I think that there's so much richness in that, in just that meditation on his humanity. And I don't really think that you see many paintings of Jesus in tears. So that's kind of a brief overview of kind of the meaning. Now let me tell you about the process, because this is pretty cool and I'm not really sure what happened. I was reading at the time, I think briefly in some art books, about underpainting and that technique in oil painting. So as far as I understand it, it's where artists do a layer of maybe the shadows of the painting, and they'll paint the shadows in what you and I might call random colour. So it might be like sage green or something weird. And then they'll overlay another layer on top of all of that as a glaze, which is a really thin layer of oil paint, with a colour that's opposite it in the colour wheel, I think. So I read about that kind of out of context and wanted just to try it out. So I started the painting on Fabriano paper, A5, and I did it in burnt sienna. So I just literally drew straight onto the paper because I didn't have much time, you remember. So I drew with my paintbrush in burnt sienna all of basically a sepia drawing with all the shadows and stuff. And then I took a bit of a risk and I did a glaze, a really, really thin, watered down with linseed oil glaze of ultramarine blue, and I covered the whole thing in it. And when I did that, something magical happened. It was very strange. I watched it come to life in front of my eyes, and suddenly, I don't know, the tones took on flesh tones. And I'm not saying it's a miracle, but it's just some kind of weird chemical reaction. And it suddenly turned the sepia portrait into basically what you see now. All I had to do was then touch up with white some of the areas that I wanted to, obviously do the tear and then the black shadows and stuff. But I've tried to replicate the technique that I did to no avail. So it's a very interesting technique, I guess, that you can hereby call the Raya technique. Put that in your textbooks. I'm just kidding. So, if you've been interested in purchasing any prints of this image, you can find it on the link on my website or in the description below. I'm going to sell it in A5, A4, and A3. So obviously bear in mind that the original is A5. It has blown up pretty well, but just so you know. So you can have like an A5 image for your personal devotional area, or A4 or A3 chapel space maybe. And what else was I gonna say? All of the prints will be distributed by myself, so they will come from me. I'll be packaging them up. So I'm in the UK right now. If you live abroad, just be aware of the shipping costs. I haven't worked it out yet, but details to follow. And yeah, it would mean a lot if you wanted to purchase this painting. I understand that it's not everybody's Jesus. Everyone has like their own idea of what Jesus really looks like. So it's not for everyone, but I just thought I'd give you a bit of a glimpse into behind the painting, how it came to be, and the strange technique that came from it. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you another time for another video, probably about Gregorian chant.